the two most important, overlooked recovery biohacks that no one does. It's crazy to me. So after being in the business for so long, you start to realize some general trends. And general trends are people like to be marketed to. Sounds crazy, right? But here's the scenario. So I work with a lot of active people, and active people can be defined as anyone who goes out and kayaks, plays softball, anything of that nature, all the way up to our professional athletes that we deal with, and whether it's endurance, rugby, CrossFit, it doesn't make a difference. All of those people are lumped into active people. And here's the fun thing about everything that you realize is that everyone is looking for the next big shiny object. In the endurance world, it's the better bike. In CrossFit, they're looking at biohacking with supplementation and different things of that nature. You name it, across every sport, and even weekend warriors are looking for biohacking techniques, right? They're talking about how to take supplementation. They're talking about recovery. They're talking about cryo boots, ice baths, all of those sorts of things. And the truth of the matter is that everyone is missing the basics. Everyone. No one's talking about it because I can't sell you water. I can't sell you fat. And so here's the crazy concept. If you want to take your life to the next level, if you're an active person and you're having pain and you want to take it to the next level and get out of pain, if you're a competitive athlete, and I see this quasi mode all of the time, especially in the endurance world is famous for people who are trying to get to that next pace level, maybe getting from a 9-mile pace down to an 8.5-mile pace, right? They talk about this all the time. They want to achieve these goals. They want to get under 12 hours in an Ironman. But they'll go out and spend, thousands of dollars more on a bike to reduce a few ounces on their bike. And they would rather do that as opposed to drink water and eat better nutrition to help with recovery and turn their lean muscle mass and body fat tissue into a recovery machine. So here's the reality, is that all biohacking things, all shiny objects, gadgets, and gizmos aren't going to be nearly as effective if you don't have the basis of water and fat in your body. Now, let's start with water. Water is one of those things where obviously we live in a society here in America where we have access to good clean water, and definitely getting it filtered is important. I'm not a big fan of just drinking city water. You really want to filter out a lot of these chemicals because they can change things in your body. You have to think about that. And here's what we unfortunately do. We rely on sports drinks. We rely on caffeine and coffee. We rely on that next marketed supplement or whatever that may be from a liquid nutrition standpoint, right? We get our powders and our gels going and those sorts of things to act as recovery agents. The reality is that water is the best. Water is the best. And all of this crap about, make sure you get 60 to 80 ounces of water, you should be doing that within like the first 2 hours of 2 to 3 hours of you being awake. So especially if you're having issues. If you're having issues and you're having pain and you want to get to that next stage, if you're a professional athlete or a person who's very competitive and wants to get their game to the next level, you need to drink a lot of water. And by what I mean by a lot of water is going to be 10 to 20 ounces of water per hour that you're awake. So that sounds like a lot, but I challenge you to do it. So take 5 days, 10 days, and get a measuring cup. I was going to say beaker because I'm a science dork. But you can get a cooking measuring cup out in your house and find a glass that you know that you can carry around with you, a thermos that you can carry around with you. Measure out 10 ounces first. Just give this a try. Put 10 ounces in your cup and make a mark on the cup on how high that is, and you should be refilling that every hour. And I challenge you to get that in by the end of the day. Now, what's going to happen? Nothing bad is going to happen. What you're going to do is you're going to feel for the first 2 or 3 days a filling up on your water. You're going to feel almost a little bit bloated because your cells have so much toxicity in them that they don't know what to do with the water. Now the water will start to flush out, and usually at about after the 3rd day, you start to get this flushing effect and your energy levels come way back. Your recovery levels come way back. You feel like you can get from workout to workout a lot easier. You feel like you can sit at the computer for a longer time. For the desk jockeys out there that maybe do their running at night and computer by day kind of job, you're going to have more energy towards that computer system. The next step, getting into recovery, is fat. Now, this is another thing that people have been over-marketed, and in this case, against. So obviously in the 90s, we went through this big transformation in the industry. Corporations did a really good job at selling you fat-free everything, and everyone talked about fat as if it was horrible for us. But the reality is that, and I'm going to go on the short version of this because I can easily get off on a tangent, is that the reality is fat is important for every process in our body. It is our control system, especially when it comes to recovery. Things like producing our hormones like testosterone. Most of these chemicals are low, especially in the male, like endurance athlete. They're going to have low testosterone. Middle-age people are decreasing their testosterone, both male and females, believe it or not. So testosterone is extremely important for females, especially in a competitive situation where they're trying to do a sport or be active. So fat is the basis for all of that. Fat is also the basis for all of our neurotransmitters. So things like if you're being active and not feeling the high, not feeling happy, almost feeling like depressed, it's because you're not having enough fat in your diet, and it's changing your brain chemistry to think that things aren't the way that they should be. They actually physically change the brain chemistry. So the other side of that spectrum, especially in females, is that the menstrual cycle, they can change their cycle if they're not getting enough fat. And we see this in athletes that try to go too low in body fat. So this is usually more of the more competitive athletes that we deal with. They actually just don't have enough body fat to produce the hormones and the cycle that they need to in order to actually have a successful recovery. So therefore, they get inflammation. Now, let's talk about inflammation because this applies to everyone. Whether you're a couch potato, a desk jockey, or a professional athlete, we all have to be aware of inflammation and the root cause of inflammation. That can be stress, that can be your nervous system, which is the balance between your parasympathetic and your sympathetic nervous system, which is your gas or your brake pedal. If you're not getting enough water, you can't flush out toxins of your body from a recovery standpoint. If you're not getting enough fat, you're not producing the hormones to make recovery, and therefore inflammation overdominates. Your immune system goes down, and you're more likely to get sick. All of these bad cycle things come from a lack of water and fat. Now, as far as fat getting into, because I didn't mention what to do about fat, most people, I could have hours of long conversation. This is a very specific set. Whether you're an endurance athlete, you're going to have different fat ratios. But in general, if you're dealing with something whether it be depression, ADHD, inflammation, joint pain, all of those categories, you're going to want to really bump up your fat quite a bit, more than you're probably used to. Now, that can be anywhere in the range of 30% all the way up to 70%. And I'm not talking about the ketogenic diet here. I'm talking about actually just getting fat into your diet. Nothing special. Well, let me rephrase that. It is special because you're not used to being told to eat fat. So here's the couple of tips that I've told people to find their set point. If you want to do it the easy way, without getting nitty gritty and creating overwhelm for you and your life, is that quite literally go out and get Kerrygold butter, grass-fed butter. You want to get a good extra virgin olive oil and make sure that it's cold pressed, and get a big jug of it. You're going to go through a lot of it. And then coconut oil. Same thing with coconut oil. The better the source, the better the product. And start adding that to everything that you eat and drink. In your coffee, you make your bulletproof coffee. You start adding these oils on everything. Coconut oil is for cooking. Olive oil is not for cooking. You can make the oil go rancid. The olive oil is for literally dumping on things like your salads, your eggs, potatoes, different things that way. Overdo it at first. We want to try to find your set point on where your body is going to feel good with fat. So you just have to play around with adding a whole bunch of that. So there you have it. The top 2 recovery hacks that almost no one does, and I can't tell you enough how important this is, and it's missed by everyone. Everyone talks about that fancy gadget and gizmo, and I just want to stress to you guys, get after water and fat. Now, if this stuff appeals to you, please check us out, www.issmadison.com. And when you get on there is a complimentary new patient exam if you're a new patient. Or if you're already an existing patient, feel free to talk to us about this. We do have a nutrition program that can help guide you into a more logical fat path. But we also have cards and information on what's called hyperhydration, and that's getting after the water aspect. So ask around, make sure that you are starting to do these types of recovery hacks, and live active and be well.